Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another podcast episode. I think this is like episode number 11 or something. But today we have someone very special. Her name is Pamela Rosario Pérez, and she is currently working as a customer experience and program manager at Rapid7. Rapid7 is one of our customers. Today, we're really excited to just sort of dive into the journey as to where she was at the very beginning in high school and all the way as to where she ended up now. Something to note about Pamela, she is El Mundo Boston 30 Under 30 most influential Latino leaders. And she has also done a lot of other amazing things. And so we hope to dive in, learn about her journey, and see if there's any additional insight that we could learn. But yeah, let's talk about your senior year of high school. Which school do you go to?
Hi, thanks for having me on the show, Tuan. So yeah, I went to public high school in Southern Jersey.
Okay. Ooh,
yeah,
Jersey.
Close to Atlantic City.
All right. Is that like just a regular public high school, or was it?
Yeah, it was a regular public high school. I was born in the Dominican Republic. And then when we moved over to the United States, we first landed in Miami. And then just in search of, better jobs and other opportunities, my family moved to the Atlantic City area to be able to work in the casinos and the restaurants and, the other places that were offering opportunities here. So that's kind of how I landed in the Atlantic City area.
Gotcha.
And yeah, that's where I went to school.
Cool. So one thing I'm curious about is that, so you're an immigrant, right?
Yes, I am.
So me too. And, just thinking about where you were as a kid and coming to the US, just sort of like thinking about what you want to do in the future. Have you put a lot of thoughts in it by the time you were about to graduate high school?
That's it's a tough question for me to answer in an easy way because yes and no. So,
Do tell.
Yeah. So as a Dominican immigrant, my family is very tight knit. I have a huge family. They're amazing. But, we did have the sort of upbringing where they were, trying to make sure that we were doing our best to be, good men and women, which means that there was a lot of gendered positions and roles and things that they kind of wanted us to follow in a way.
Yeah.
So for example, with me growing up, especially being the oldest of 12, it was very important for me to cook and clean and, do all these things. And for just traditionally in a lot of Dominican households,
it's things that are actually important now because people
exactly
cook at home right now. So
right. It is extremely important to learn how to cook and clean. I'm not saying that it's not, but it was kind of, for a lot of Dominican families, it is their aspiration for their daughters to get married and have kids and be very close to their families. And even if they move out, like we're still living in the same neighborhood, so you don't go too far from home.
Yeah.
Whereas with me, ever since I was, a very little, I'm still little, but a littler girl. No, ever since I was a child, I had always had these like big dreams and aspirations. Like I would watch, American TV and be like, I don't know why people are wearing suits, but I want to do that. What is that? A receptionist? Great. I want that. Whatever it is that I can do in business, like, sure, I want to do that. I also wanted to travel the world. And for me, because I was, born in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, but raised in a village of Sonador de Bonao, the only people that I was really seeing in like suits was, women that I would see on TV who were working in these receptionist roles or once I moved to the United States and would have to travel alone a lot of times, it was the, the flight stewardesses, right? Like the people who were the flight attendants. So I was like, wow, this is cool. Like women have even more opportunities. So I could travel the world and wear a business suit if I become a flight attendant. So those were like literally my two goals, just because that is the only thing that I was exposed to where I saw women, wearing business suits and being out and about. But I just wanted to share that because in my head, I was always that little girl. They used to call me Come Boca, actually, because it was kind of unbecoming of a young girl to be listening in on all these adult conversations and whatnot. And I was that girl who, used to love listening to adults speaking about politics, about business, about real estate, about different industries, and I wanted to have an opinion. So as I grew
How
older,
old were you when you were able to form these opinions?
oh, I had been given my unsolicited opinion since I could speak. Feel free
Oh.
to speak with my family. But since I was like 3 years old, they tell me stories all the time about me butting my head in adult conversations, trying to give my
Yep.
opinion on democracy
Yep.
or on
Wow.
what is the right way to vote and all that sort of stuff. And for me, it wasn't about being right. It was just about having intelligent conversations, learning something new
Yeah.
from other people, from, other lived experiences, and really tackling challenges,
Yeah.
especially those that when you tackle them, you can actually, and you figure out a solution, you can make money off of it. So I was very intrigued by that, but I didn't have the vocabulary to say, okay, this is the sort of career I wanted.
You just
When
wanted to look good at that point.
I just wanted to be wearing a business suit.
Yeah.
That was my goal. But as I got older and feeling the stress is now more of like having to conform to certain cultural norms, being pushed this idea of like, you need to be a good homemaker, you need to be a good wife. I kind of started rebelling against that a little bit. And I, kind of like romanticize a lot of the roles that I saw on TV, a lot of FBI, Criminal Minds, those kind of roles. And I was like, you know what, that's what I want to do. At the end of the day, I was always interested in the human psyche and motivations, what actually pushes people to work together to create something that's bigger than themselves, especially when there is no clear benefit. So I was like, you know what, maybe I do want to go into like psychology, psychiatry, do something in forensic psychopathology. So I made my decision to go to college my senior year because I knew it was my two exit strategies were probably like, hey, either I marry out or I try to pursue this whole career thing that I saw on TV, and I don't know quite what it means, but I'm going to try my best to do it.
Well, let's stay in high school before we move on.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you're talking about the right stuff, like the cultural norms, and we live in a society. Come on, every single one, different type of society have different expectation for what type of roles that you could take, and you were just curious about multiple different options at that point. You're speaking in terms of this mindset prior to even deciding to go or pick your college, right?
Right. I just knew that I wanted to explore what a career was for me, especially since it was something that I had never seen in my environment. And I felt that as a woman, as a Dominican woman, I could do more. I just felt I could do more, and I wanted to figure out what that more was. So that's when I made my decision to apply to college.
That's a really empowering thought. Did you configure that out yourself, or did someone in your life have placed that thought into your head?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that no one necessarily placed the thought in my head, but I was definitely inspired. You could say almost like through osmosis, just like by I was raised with my grandmother, my paternal grandmother, and she was an incredible woman. I'm talking about, she was a boss in the sense that, she came to the United States, I believe in the early 80s, from a village back in a time when like no one did that at all, men or women, not from that village, not from like anywhere else. And she just like, as an amazing, independent, she was definitely like married and had her family, but she took on that challenge of coming to the United States, the first one, and hustling her way to getting in a stable place and being able to bring her husband and then the rest of some of her family members over. And I definitely benefited from being around her, from having her raise me, because even though she wasn't trying to raise me into like a CEO, she still wanted me to be a good wife and a good homemaker. Being able to see her experience and how she was able to do something so completely out of the box and iconic in my eyes, because she was a woman in that time in a society that did not want to see women move in that way. And she was able to do that and make it look easy. That kind of like influence, and I feel inspired me to also do something out of the box and move in a way that I had never seen women move before.
I think having empowering role models within your life actually is really helpful earlier on. And so I guess the next part of your journey is college. Okay, well, you were in Jersey, and on your LinkedIn, it says Harvard, right? And so, one, I'm curious about sort of like family expectation. There's a little bit different from my culture. It's like you're Asian, you always are forced to apply to Harvard by default. And Harvard's the number
Really?
one
Huh.
school in the world, and so I can speak about it without people knowing that it's an obscure college. It's not. So the question is, does your family have any influences in regards to which school you chose? Two, why did you choose Harvard, and what were some other choices that you make that you have decided for college?
Yeah. So I, well, as far as your first question with family, um, my family was never too involved in my academics because they just kind of like didn't really understand
Mhm.
that world. So for me, school became my oasis in a way because I could just go there and do whatever I wanted. And
Yeah,
since they didn't quite understand the whole world and how school worked here in the United States, I was able to do that kind of by myself and not feel the pressure either to get good grades throughout, my high school career or even apply to certain schools once that time came, which for me worked very well because since there were no expectations for me, I was like, okay, it could only go up from here.
yeah,
And I felt the freedom to play around with this idea and make it and see if I could have it move me
mm,
in a positive direction, in a way where I could even create a future for myself. So in a way, I would say like my family was happy that I was applying for something, especially when I told them that I was trying to make sure that they didn't have to pay for anything by securing a
okay,
scholarship.
okay,
So they were happy and supportive in that way.
yeah,
But it wasn't like they told me, hey, make sure that you apply to this school or that school. For me, because like I mentioned, it was kind of an exit strategy for me. And I was very much trying to see if it worked. I wasn't even sure that I'd get in. That said, I was valedictorian. I was doing my best
yep,
to, be squared
awesome.
away on that end. But I wasn't sure if I would get in because I had never seen someone like me go to any college, really.
Hmm.
So I applied to Harvard and Brown because after doing some research, I realized that most likely those were the schools that were going to give me a full ride scholarship and allow me to go to college. To be very frank with you, even if I got accepted into a school that had me pay $15,000 a year with my family situation, we would not have been able to make that happen. We were not
Hmm.
in a position to take out loans or
Yeah,
to do any of that. So it was very much like Harvard, Brown, or nothing. And I was working at TGI Fridays at the time, making my little $100. So I thought I was like good and rich. So I was like, let me see if this happens. But if it doesn't, it's not the end of the world. But yeah, that's kind of like, where I was coming from. And I wasn't a part of any sort of like programs, youth enrichment programs, or
hmm,
workplace readiness or college readiness programs that were equipping me to be successful in college or know exactly what SATs and all these other things were. I kind of was just like listening to my classmates speak about these things. Oh, the SAT 2s, the actual SATs, prepping for this and that. So listening to them and being like, okay, everyone's like studying for this stuff. I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna sign up to take the test. That's kind of how I was able to get through those moments. And honestly, it wasn't even until I graduated college that I was like, wow, there's a lot of education and assistance that I did not have,
yeah,
perspective that I did not have, that
yeah,
more kids need to have. So that's why I'm involved with Chica Project and a lot of other youth enrichment programs that work with Latino or Black kids or, Vietnamese, Cambodian, Cape Verdean, a lot of
This is
different kids
before
coming from
or in
other
college?
countries. This is actually, it started in college. I started working with Sociedad Latina
Okay,
and some other organizations. And post-college, I've been working with some of those too.
that's awesome. I mean, you're touching on all the right points. It's like I got college assistance as an immigrant, low income, and all that stuff. There's been a lot of programs helping me, and I don't think I would have gotten far without them. Like, bottom line, you aspire in Massachusetts at least, and Brown and Harvard rejected me. I'm still salty, but
You're showing them though.
but okay. Well, so you're in Harvard now, and what makes you decided to choose what is it? Social and cognitive
Neuro.
neuroscience. Yeah.
Yeah, so like I had mentioned 4. After watching loads of X-Files and Criminal Minds, I was like, you know what? This is where I need to go. And one funny thing about, like, I'd say being an immigrant is that I feel there are some things that we sometimes say are bad things, bad qualities to have, like being nosy, for example. Sometimes we get that a lot in my culture.
That
Don't be
just means you're curious, okay?
Exactly. There you go. And that's my take. Like, I feel it's a lot about framing, and there's a lot of these bad qualities, and sometimes they're just like gendered and misconceptions and all these things that people have in our culture that are huge assets. Like those people who can go ahead on the iPhones and, you know, I don't know, Google someone up and find all this information. Like some folks may call that super nosy, and you have no job in our culture. And that's social engineering. Like that is something that is great. And it's actually, you can get a job doing that same sort of thing, right? So like for me, sometimes, you know, in my culture, people would be like, oh, you're so nosy. You're always investigating and asking questions. And I'm seeing on American TV, like, whoa, asking questions is a good thing. I can get a job as an investigator. You know, I can get a job as these other things. So it started giving ideas for the sort of opportunities and the sort of careers that I would be good for. So because I was very much starting to fall in love with this idea of trying to understand the mind, you know, what is criminal behavior? What is typical behavior? How is that delineated? Who made the rules on what is good and bad? I went into college taking a lot of psych classes. That's kind of where I just fell in love with even trying to understand the cultural components of what makes people sane or insane. And then I got more into the collaboration and the creativity pieces and the motivation pieces. And I started working in labs where I was really studying that in a deeper way. And yeah, social and cognitive neuroscience is kind of like, I just fell into it. It is what felt the most natural based on just I'd say my aptitudes and my interest at the time and what I really wanted to dig deeper into. And honestly, it was the best thing that I did because it led me to work in strategy. And even though if you look at my work history, it may look like, okay, you're in government, now you're in financial strategy, you're in, you know, financial investments, whatever. And then now you're in tech, but it's all strategy. It's all working with people. It's all figuring out what makes people tick and getting them together to create something bigger than themselves.
Yeah. I mean, you're doing so many different things before you even graduate college. At what point did you sort of like have an inkling during your year in college? It's like, this is what I want to do. Or are you just following just the next opportunity that's presented in front of you?
Yeah, you know what's funny? I had always been a planner. Growing up, like I would have these books where I'd be like, in 5 years, this is gonna be my life, and I would design my house and all these things. And coming into college, everything was so new and so unexpected for me that I had to throw my plan out the window.
Nice.
Because I didn't know what to expect. I just realized how much of life I had never been exposed to and how much I didn't know.
Yeah.
So I got a tip from someone who basically shared with me, like, hey, because at the beginning, I'm like, maybe I have to pursue this psych thing, but with a medical angle. So I have to do, you know, psychiatry so I can make money. Because as an immigrant, all you know sometimes is like, okay, law and medicine. Like those are your only ways of making money.
Yep.
So I was kind of stressing myself out early on since I was pre-med, still in the neuroscience track. And someone told me, hey, do what you love. Like, don't worry about what you think is going to be good for medicine or what would make you good in this career that you're going to have in 20 years. Just pursue, like, sign up for the courses and pursue the clubs or the opportunities that really fuel that fire that you have in your heart, that are enjoyable, that even if you're getting a C in the class, you feel like you're learning and you feel excited to go every year and well, every day. And that's what I did. I actually, you know, I took Yoruba, I took psych classes, I took other courses, Latin American, Afro-American history. And it was amazing. And honestly, like it made me, I feel, into a better rounded person. And it allowed me to play well and adapt quickly in government, in finance, in tech. So did I have a plan for every single move that I did academically or professionally? No, but I did make sure, like I did vet the opportunities and I made sure that they were aligned with what I wanted to learn The gaps that I had in my background as well, whether it was, I didn't know how to communicate with people of a certain demographic or people who have certain political beliefs, and I need to learn how to interface and communicate in a way that is productive, like even social skills. Like I'm very, I like to reflect a lot. So I was like, wow, okay, I grew up in this sort of community. I have no idea how to interact with this other community, or I don't have these skills. Let me look for opportunities where I can actually learn and grow in these sort of ways. So that is actually how I went about my professional career. Sometimes, I had to make a call about, I need to get this job in order to make more money to just pay for stuff here in Boston, because I didn't have any family at all living with me in this area. I came here by myself. So yeah, at times it was about survival. But even when I had to make those jumps for money, I still made sure that I was learning, whether it was learning about money, finance, what capital means, what assets are, what all that world is, or learning about innovation and high tech and what does AI mean, what does ML mean, and how we can connect people from historically disenfranchised communities to that, to the innovation economy, or to the other, economies that are really fueling the world. So yeah.
You're jumping ahead there. And I think I thought about that concept for a long time. That's why I started ScholarJet. But I think to take a step back, something I noticed is that you've spent a lot of your time during college working, sort of like volunteering and working in the social service sector. So as a person who've essentially gotten into college as an immigrant, or just people in general, like some people already know what they wanted to do. Some people are still trying to figure it out. But from what I've seen on LinkedIn, you're literally just doing every single thing you have that you can see, trying multiple different aspects, all at the same time being super independent because you're literally here by yourself. And two is that you were fully self-aware by that point. So that's really rare, because very few people have the level of self-awareness that they would have in college, given the circumstances that they grew up poor or whatever, right? Because they don't have that education. No one's have ever just sat them down and give feedback on sort of like their conversation, no one just give feedback, because people typically who grew up without enough resources or education, they take feedback offensively instead of actually taking it constructively, which is also another skill that a lot of people need in order to actually improve. So, I mean, it is super incredible, but I think something I'm curious about for the audience is, could you talk a little bit more about, like, I know you're doing a lot of different things, but did you have an anchor point in the future? Like, the reason why I phrase the question in this way is that I don't want to phrase it as like, do you know where you want to be in 5 years or 10? Because the answer is obviously not. What was your North Star as to where you were headed? Because every single thing that you were doing in college has to connect one way or another, right? What was that North Star?
Yeah, to be frank, because I came from humble beginnings and I didn't know much, my North Star was just being independent. Even though, like I mentioned, like my grandmother, came from another country, got stable here in the United States and everything. A lot of the women that I saw in my environment and in the Dominican Republic, they're just as independent as like their husband allows them to be, or as independent as they can be within this family setting. So like the family setting never goes away, right?
Yeah.
And for me, what I wanted to try, because I had never seen, was truly be independent, like be able to live by myself, pay my own bills, help my family out, and actually be that person that's like either loaning the money or paying for the whole, the house bills, paying for a full meal with my entire family, being able to just, write the checks. I wanted to be that for my family. I would see movies where the men were always the ones, working and giving money to their wives or whatever. And I was like, I can do that. Like, these people having these conversations, like I can have those conversations. So that was really my North Star. And I know it probably sounds very simple, but I just wanted to be able to help my family out, not be a burden for them, and show them that there is a lot of strength in this sort of independence, and it's not something to be scared about. Because I remember when I got into Harvard and I had a family member actually ask like, oh, so who's going to do the dishes? So like, you have to live someplace else? Why? Like, even living at a school, like for them, it was just like, they didn't get it. They didn't understand anything of that. So I wanted to also show them like, hey, this is a way to be successful. It's okay. But honestly, as I've gone through my professional career, it's funny that you say like, oh, you're doing everything. I've honestly just been doing the things that I love. Like, the things that allow me to stay close to my roots, whether it is working with people who are also coming recently from the Dominican Republic, or just, you know, immigrants coming from other countries, from Sudan, from Eritrea, trying to figure out how to get housing in Cambridge, or trying to figure out how to invest in stocks. Like, I was that person who had no idea about anything, seeing the world move around me and not understand how are people making money, or how are people able to make passive income. Like, what does passive income mean, you know? So I wanted to be a part of this like economy and be a contributor, not just sit back and let the world and everything pass by me. And I'm seeing these kids, you know, as I worked like in the Marshall, back in college, and through my other opportunities and other nonprofits that I have worked with, I'm seeing these kids also have the same sort of questions. How does this work? Why is everyone in tech white? How can I work in tech? Like, is it possible? Can Black people be engineers? And I'm just like, yes, 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 yes. Let me take you under my wing. Or let me just connect you with someone else who can be that leader, or can be a role model for you. So honestly,
do you know at what point in college these thoughts came into your head? Because it's like an accumulation of multiple different type of knowledge from across disciplines and factors.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that I didn't just like start in college. So even from my time in high school, I was already getting people together and trying to figure out like, hey, I've always had to be scrappy. Like my entire life.
Why Brown and Harvard, they rejected me, because I was a complete idiot. So
Stop saying that. That's not true. But yeah, like that is one thing that I love about my family and my upbringing. Like, because we didn't have much, we had to be scrappy and we had to be resourceful and just figure things out, right? MacGyver things. So very early on, I started realizing, hey, people have different talents, different problems. So, but that means that we can all help each other out, like, right? Fit like different pieces of a puzzle to make something much bigger. And that makes sense. And that's beautiful. So carrying that idea, once I went into college, you know, I helped co-found the Dominican Students Association, but I also joined Strong Women, Strong Girls and other organizations where I was able to give back because of the same thing. I felt like we all have different pieces of the puzzle. We all have different strengths and weaknesses. And if we come together, we can help each other out. And I especially saw the discrepancies, you know, once in Harvard, between the differences between people who are coming from a very privileged background, even the way that we eat, the way that we sit, the way that we take feedback, as you mentioned, the way
they
that
know how to hold their forks and spoons. I don't.
Right.
I use chopstick.
Right. And I was here like cutting my steak with a spoon, thinking I'm good, you know, but it's just like seeing all of these different lived experiences, and even noting how depressed or how anxious some people were, the type of mental health challenges that people were having, and how all of that kind of came from their upbringing, or sometimes the lack of resources that they had, the lack of certain foods that they had. I was just like, I don't know, it just like immediately just continued to fuel this fire in me to continue connecting people and making sure that we were aware of the different financial opportunities that are accessible to us. Because I grew up thinking that I would never be able to work in tech because I couldn't build the computer from scratch. But then I realized, whoa, I don't have to be an engineer or be super techie to have a career in technology. I don't have to be able to do math in my head in 0.009 seconds, right? In order to work in finance. But you do have to have grit. You have to be curious and you have to be hardworking. And I feel that's something that like defines most immigrants I know. So it's a place for us.
Do you have a specific story in college that just stood out to you and sort of like a lesson that you learned?
Oh my gosh, you need to be more specific. I have so many lessons learned from college.
Maybe one at a point where you sort of like see someone being super successful and you just don't know why.
Oh, well, yeah, that was like my entire
It's like every
college
day.
career.
Okay. All right.
Right,
Gotcha.
exactly. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it really was like my entire college career. Sometimes I understood it. Sometimes it was like, what do they know that I don't know? I mean, I can tell you definitely for senior year, I was that person who started planning for post, similar to my transition from high school to college. I started planning for post grad very late because I also had no idea that that is what people were supposed to be doing. It wasn't until like a few weeks before graduation that I asked a friend, I was like, why is everyone in like suits all of a sudden? Like, what is going on? What kind of interviews are happening? And he was like, oh, you didn't know, like, you know, the consulting and the finance and the iBanking and all like this all going on right now.
Yeah.
And I was so confused. I was like, what do you mean McKinsey and Bain and Morgan Stanley and JP? Why are they here? And they're like, the internships, like, did you not do your internships in your sophomore year? Like, did you not apply for this financial whatever scholarship junior year? I was just like, no. I had no idea these things existed. And I didn't even know what they did. I was like, what do you mean strategy consulting? How can I go ahead and advise a business on how to be successful when I'm literally just coming out of college? Like, I had no idea how any of these things worked. So it was sad, I won't lie, for me to kind of like, you know, go through senior year, still working 3 jobs. Like, it's not like I was chilling. I was still on top of my classes, working 3 jobs, doing a lot of nonprofit work, and seeing people come out, like not even finish their fall semester and already having job offers, you know, 6-figure job offers. And I'm over here like, oh, wow, I haven't even applied for anything. So, and no one had spoken to me about it. And that's one of the reasons, once again, why now I'm like very proactive to talk to kids about this sort of stuff. Because if I had not asked, no one would have ever told me. And I asked so late.
The point about like prestigious school is that no one's going to hold your hand. You're supposed to figure it out. The resources are there, right? And not a lot of people actually realize what kind of resources are available in college. And when they looked, they're like, holy crap, you had all of these? But that's already too late. That's when you're about to graduate.
Right.
So you're about to graduate and you have all these 3 jobs. And what was the next decision? It's like, I'm curious, when you first decided to take a step towards working at, say, a corporation or just a company in general, when did that take place?
Yeah, so my getting out of college was very interesting. So I graduated. I was actually homeless for a few weeks after college. Yeah, and that's the other thing. I was like, people have been telling me that if I graduate with a Harvard degree, like I should be like rich right after, if not by like year 2. And that is not the case at all. You still have to hustle. And yeah, I had to learn that definitely the hard way. I will say the way that I was able to get a job is because during one of the events that we were having for the Dominican Students Association, which is the organization that I co-founded. And at the time, I was co-president with Daily Guerrero. And yeah, I was having an event there. We had fundraised a lot of money, and someone who was there, he at the time was a lawyer, aspiring to join the city's council. He was just like, hey, I love how you speak. I love how you're able to get to fundraise. And, you know, I can see that you're very passionate about certain causes. So he asked me to be his campaign manager. And I said no, because once again, I've never done that before. I was like, I have no idea what you're asking me to do. I've never done that in my life, never even thought about going into politics, municipal politics, or managing a campaign. So I said no a few times, but honestly, learning more about him, his platform, his heart, how just how committed he was to really changing things around in the city of Cambridge and bringing more people along on this ride to join the innovation economy, to get jobs in machine learning, to get jobs in artificial intelligence and RPA. I was like, oh my gosh, like this guy has great ideas. And I do want to, help elevate our different communities, or at least like help make them aware of all these different scholarships, small business grants, small business loans, all these opportunities to really help them improve their quality of life. So that's kind of, I signed on to that and I became his campaign manager, and very luckily, it was a lot of hard work, I will say. Oh, yeah. But he was able to get elected into the Cambridge City Council, became the first vice mayor of Latino descent ever. And it was nice. It was awesome to make some history. And once again, it was just one of those experiences where it's like, we're doing something that we've never done before. It's actually working out. We stumbled a few times, but we learned a whole lot. So it's one of those reasons why I couldn't make a plan. Life was just taking me in so many different directions, and I was learning so much, things that I just didn't know existed. At the time, I was actually the only Latina to be a campaign manager in all of Massachusetts. So it was scary. It was a little scary because I'm like, once again, I don't see anyone else like me doing these things, but I did it. And that is how I was able to get into that first job post-college.
That's awesome. There's a lot of different experiences here, and it almost non-linkable. It's just different experiences after the next on your LinkedIn. I mean, I think the only two big tech companies that stands out on here is HubSpot and Rapid7 for the most part. And so, excuse me, but I have allergies. But so I'm curious. Stepping away from the other stuff, which could be a whole new series of podcasts to visit. I'm more want to concentrate on the tech side. So let's talk about your experiences at HubSpot. How did you get into HubSpot, and just like what is your experience like in terms of just the way that you were thinking at that point?
Yeah, well, something that you mentioned earlier, it's how my experiences may seem like there is no link to them. But like I said, there is, right? At the end of the day, all the work that I'm doing, whether it was in Gov, whether it was in finance, is strategy. And then coming into HubSpot, once again, is strategy. I mean, I was hired there after 9 interviews. It was very hard. HubSpot is very competitive to get into. But they were great interviewers. I had a wonderful experience there. But I was brought in to, work with a particular subset of customers that they didn't even know existed, right? So once it was, they made this discovery and they try to bring talent on, I was brought on to help serve these people and really start identifying what are the different customer problems that they have, so that the company can start creating an action plan for how to save them and kind of bring them back to the fold, right? So it was a huge project of just like initial discovery first. And I had an amazing manager, an amazing mentor, but it was uncharted ground. And because of my experience working in strategy and bringing organization to chaos and being able to work with different people and being able to roll with the punches and adapt to difficult environments, no matter what kind of environment it was, and being able to interface with people, no matter their industry, whether they were, in legal, in finance, in accounting, they brought me in because of the diversity of my experiences. So I was doing that and helping develop the program that they had for these sort of customers. So that was an incredible experience where, once again, I originally didn't think that I would be a good fit for tech because I didn't think about relationships, so why did you even, or customer success. Did
you search out HubSpot, or did they reach out to you?
So I had a friend who worked there in a customer success role, and she's the one who started telling me, like, I'm also not an engineer. I'm also not an extremely technical person, but I really like this job. And I've been finding myself as someone who loves to work with people, that I am growing and I'm learning here. And once she told me about that, that's when I decided to apply. And I ended up, very, very fortunate to end up with a role there.
Gotcha. And so there's like a few more experiences in between before you even get to Rapid 7. So you make your way back to tech after a long period. Why do you make the decision to, I guess, work at Rapid 7?
Yeah, so I decided to, from government and finance and then to tech, I decided to make the jump into tech because of work-life balance. Okay. That's the first thing I'll say. Yeah. I loved the opportunities that I had and how I was able to grow and everything that I was able to learn in the other roles, but I at least haven't found a work-life balance that even compares to the one that I have in tech. That's one thing. I love that folks are more genuine and they allow you to be yourself. And they allow you to, work with nonprofits if you want to, continue being very philanthropic or play in sports or do whatever you want to do as long as you're creating value for the company. So that's what I love about tech. After HubSpot, I actually went to work for a small tech company called Advocate. And that's where I was able to dig deeper into different, I would say, different areas of technology, like robotic process automation, system integrations, implementations, all that good stuff. And because of our consultants' areas of expertise, we were able to kind of help lead this transformation from being, a systems integrator into a cybersecurity consultancy. So with the help of, my team, we launched a cybersecurity training program called Cyber Warrior Academy, and we got some success with that. So happy that we were able to get some people trained and working in cybersecurity because the program was actually focused on women, veterans, and people of color, and is the only one of its kind in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So I feel very fortunate to have been able to just be part of that program and get more of our people upskilled and working and making bank. So it was very exciting for me to be a part of that. And then once that chapter ended, I thought that I wanted to go into product marketing just because I was kind of part of what I really loved being in that job. Even though I was the director of operations and marketing, I was like, oh, this product marketing thing is like really fun. So that's what I thought I wanted to go into. But obviously strategy is just like my bread and butter. And that is where I really shine more than in anything else. So after a few, honestly, very organic conversations with Rapid 7, I just thought I was helping them out with some challenges that they were having, just being a thought partner. I was informed that there was an opening for a program manager position doing exactly what I was talking about. And I applied and I got it. And it's funny because I was applying for other things. I did not think that the Rapid 7 role was going to work out for me, mainly because one, I idolize them. They're an amazing company in the cybersecurity space. And me coming from a smaller cybersecurity company, they were like, the major leagues. So I was like, these folks are super bright. Like they do not need me. I don't bring any value to them. But they were able to just not only provide me with an incredible, interview experience and application experience, but it was just the right fit. Like what I was trying to tackle, they had to tackle, and the ways that I wanted to grow and learn, they were trying to help me grow and learn. I love the people. I love how different everyone was and how authentic I felt people were. So it worked out definitely for my benefit. But it was an incredible experience, and I'm happy that I was able to land at Rapid 7 because it's not the easiest of places. And what I mean by that is that it's a place that values people for their diversity and the experiences and the knowledge and the angles, right, that they bring. But you're going to work hard. You're going to work hard. And we definitely live out our core values. We want people who are curious. We want people who ask a lot of questions. We want people who are going to flip a problem on its head and try to think about, hey, how can we actually solve this in a completely atypical way? And let's have fun with it. Let's innovate. So it's a high energy place. So for someone who just wants to coast, not for you. But if you want a fun challenge, this is the right place.
So let's talk about what you do in your role currently, because that's the thing we want to demystify. Your job title, it's pretty obscure. Can you tell me more why as to why the job title is the way that it is? And So like, what's your day-to-day activities, your mundane stuff that you do and the exciting stuff that you do?
Gotcha. So, program manager of customer experience. So I didn't have much to do with the title, but I will say, to just break that down, program manager, I'm basically managing the program. So in other words that do not use the same words as the phrase, I would say that I take care of the operations of a particular program, making sure that, especially
When you say program, like,
yeah,
would have different connotation. If when I hear program, I'm like, oh,
what
like
do you
program
what do you
for
think?
kids. I'm just like the only program that I've ever heard is like financial assistance or program to teach kids. I'm just like, what is a program in a tech company looks like, and what is it?
Yeah, well, it could look in many different. It could look like many different things, right? But for us, as an example, it's when you have a series of projects that don't
Okay.
necessarily have an end date. So let's say we have an ice cream company. We realize that we have a lot of customers who really want chocolate, but all we serve is strawberry and vanilla. And getting chocolate ice cream is like impossible because of whatever environment, financial constraints. We recognize that it's a business problem, and we want to start bringing in together different resources, maybe people, tools, for us to be able to tackle this problem and be able to better serve our customers, right? Finally get chocolate ice cream into the shop so that we can
Yep.
deliver and maybe make more money, whatever the case may be. So what we do and how we think about this is, instead of just having, assigning one person to, hey, try to tackle this problem of getting chocolate ice cream into our shop, we say, let's create a program, right? Let's actually sit down, create a plan, figure out what are the resources, what are the needs, what is the actual customer problem, so that we can be very strategic about how we go to solve that problem and make sure that it's a sustainable solution. So it's not a one size fits all, one time thing, but hey, now we have a partnership with, I don't know, a vendor, so that we always have, chocolate ice cream. Now we have partnerships with transportation systems and other folks, so that we can make sure that it's always being delivered on time. And now this is something that we can always offer, to our customers. It's not only on this one Saturday, this one year, that we're giving chocolate ice cream. So I don't know if that helps understand,
Yeah. I mean,
helps you understand the term, but
for the way that I see it, is basically pulling different resources to solve a single problem. So say, for example, when you're trying to build a bike, then there's multiple different parts. You have to figure out ways to get those parts, and then you assemble it, and you use ice cream, for example. So
yeah. So you
so
can think about it as like a working group or a task force, if that's easier. But yeah,
that's
we are trying
that's
to
the
bring
program
together
manager
those.
aspect. What about the customer experience aspect of your job?
Yeah. So for the customer experience piece, the way that I like to think about it is that I want to make sure that our customers are, one, being heard, and that we are meeting them where they are.
Okay.
So that's the most important thing to me. So whether a customer is coming to us and they have all the money in the world to spend and they just need our guidance, or they have very limited funds and they want to know, what is that one thing that I can get started with for me to see value and then grow into maybe buying more of your products, or just get healthier, have a healthy cybersecurity program? What can I do? Like, those are the kind of like problems that I love to tackle. And that is where I focus my energy on, right? Trying to make sure that we understand our customers and we can ensure that they have a smooth experience, where when they speak with Rapid7, they feel like they're speaking with either one person, like one voice, or a group of people that are all talking to one another and completely understand this customer's history, what their goals are, where they're coming from, their environment, and how to get them to success. So that is where I'm coming from with customer experience. And that's why I love it so much, because at the end of the day, we're all people, right? And we
Yeah.
have a lot of the same challenges. So I love connecting folks and making sure that they get what they need at the right time, and in a way that really gets them to success.
That's so interesting. So then now I see where all the dots connect.
It's
You
all
spend a lot of
strategy.
time talking with people, have self-awareness for who you are, really interested in psychology behind why people think a certain way, and how that not only affects their own personal situation, but also affect the macro situation in terms of economic drive, and how some people are less likely be able to pursue their goals or dreams because of some of the psychological aspect. You brought that with you as you continue to pursue different set of careers aspect. Started to run, being a campaign manager, which just thinking in terms of strategy, which is a completely different set of skills. And then you essentially just utilize both set of skills, that high level strategy aspect, which is also include the minute details, but the people skill. So you utilize all of that, plowed through all of your essentially career aspiration, ended up exactly the place where all of your skills and where you're looking to grow align at Rapid7. You're working on the strategy piece, connecting all the dots, less about human related, and then you are also working directly with the human side, customer experience aspect. This is really interesting, and it's not a story that I think commonly revealed, because people don't typically see that an immigrant just came to Miami, moved to Jersey, and then ended up at Harvard and now working at a tech company. I think that's really inspiring.
So sweet.
Do you have any sort of like advice for people out there who are trying to break into tech? I guess, yeah, just in general, in terms of the people who have not a clue what's working at a tech company is like, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say is that, you know, people before used to call me crazy because I just try out and go into these industries when I had no experience or no background in them. But you know what? I really do feel that it's something that has helped me. It's really benefited me. So I encourage everyone else out there, whether you're interested in joining tech, finance, insurance, accounting, whatever industry, just go for it. Like, try your best to do some research. Now there is no excuse, right? We have Google, we have so many different things that you can, ebooks or podcasts, just so many avenues to learn about different industries or obscure roles and whatnot. So, you know, feel free to take some time to learn a little bit more about that role, but apply for stuff. Even if you don't feel that you hit the requirements 100%, you're not even at 70%, just apply, because you never know what you could learn from that role. You may get it. There's a lot of value that people bring. Sometimes it's not even from, let's say, working in tech prior, but from their upbringing, being able to figure things out, being able to be resourceful, being curious. That's not necessarily something that you learn in a particular job. It's something that at times we are born with, or things that, you know, we have, and it's in here. So there's a lot of amazing characteristics that people of color have, women have, immigrants have. So feel free to recognize that that is a resource. That is a very, very valuable asset. And I was doing another interview where I was talking about cultural barriers versus cultural assets. And even something like our accents. Sometimes people think too much, oh, I have a really thick accent. People are going to say no, even though I have the experience or the expertise. Like, no one's going to hire me because of my accent. And it's like, you can't think about it like that. You have to reframe it and think about, wow, I'm a bilingual person, or I'm a multilingual person. I can do this job in 4 different languages. How huge of an asset is that?
Yeah.
Forget about your accent. Everyone has an accent at the end of the day. Even if you were born in the United States, people have a Southern accent, Northeastern accent, Midwestern accent, whatever the case may be. Don't focus too much on that. That is not a cultural barrier, but a cultural asset. So I just encourage people to be bold, go for what you want, especially if you've never seen someone like you doing it. And who knows, you'll probably blow your own self away. So go for it.
You'll tend to surprise yourself. And thank you for that. I think one of the things that you said is very powerful. It's like sometimes we think that the traits or the things that we have about ourselves we are ashamed of, and that's some of the most powerful thing we have and are often overlooked.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Pam. This has been great. Thank you so much for sharing us with your journey, your perspective, and everything. I really enjoyed this. So have a wonderful time at Rapid 7. Hope that you'll get to stay there for a longer time and succeed and, I don't know, become CEO at one point.
Thank you so much, Swan. Definitely looking forward to your visit. Have a good one.
Yep. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
All right.